on the show here, college football analyst, co-host of the Huddle. Coach, yes! All right!
First touchdown of the year.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy. Ha ha. It's a six-ring Kane show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Vish, and DJ break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. We reporting live from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the six-ring champs. It's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards, a hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the Six Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go Canes.
What is up, everyone? Thanks for joining me on this last-minute thing for those that were able to. I'm in Albany, boy, that virtual background really makes me look like a ghost, huh? Well, I am alive and well in Albany for now. We'll see how this game goes tonight. And it is freezing here. Got the wind chill coming in. Feels like is in the teens. So I'm kind of holed up inside and figured I'd do a quick hit here. It's been a crazy few days for the Canes. We'll start obviously with, let's just get baseball out of the way. Swept Virginia Tech, really couple of big comeback performances over the weekend, then one complete demolition. So props to them. That's a big series win. We'll have more on that on tomorrow night, Six Rings Kane show, as well as on my midweek hit, but awesome job there. But focus today is hoops. And this will be a short video because I had to turn the heat off to get the fan to not blow right into the microphone. So it is starting to feel a little nippy in here. The Canes versus Indiana is a rivalry. The rivalry we did not know we needed for both men's and women's hoops. But let's start with the men. Friday, not the. Not the performance we were looking for. Let's just be honest there. I did not shoot the ball well. A lot of turnovers. Credit to Drake. They took the air out of the ball, slowed it down significantly, and we struggled in that setting. What do we do to counter that against Indiana? I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But Drake did a good job of kind of getting the clock down and doing late game execution, which really, late in the shot clock, getting good looks, which kind of took the air out of the ball. We didn't get as much and as many possessions as we normally do. And then when we did, we were missing shots and I think pressing a little bit to try and make up for that. And it showed in the product. Obviously, both Nigel Pack and Woogo played really well. I mean, Norchad had the stats, but you do have to wonder if he's a little bit hesitant on his ankle. Just the amount of success that Drake had in the post is kind of abnormal. I know Norchad's undersized for a center, but he usually kind of wins with his force there, and he wasn't able to do that against Drake, which is going to be a challenge if that continues against Virginia. Against Indiana, Virginia. Whew, I don't know where that came from. Been a long couple of days. I feel like I've been in Albany forever. I will say they don't make these traveling to these tournament games fan friendly at all because you don't know the game times in advance. So I flew in Thursday thinking, this could be Friday at noon. It wasn't until 7:30, or actually 7:55 in reality. So I easily could have flown in Friday. And then, the 8:50, 8:40 tip tonight means I can't get out tonight. So I'll be going we'll be going out tomorrow. So yeah, I feel like I live in Albany now. Been here a long time. Shout out to Muhammad. Thanks, man. Thanks for the dono. Appreciate it. So the Canes didn't play well, but one of the things about this team all year is they felt special. Like there was something about them, and they showed that. Nigel Pack was obviously great. Woogo was great. But this team just didn't quit. Zay struggled. Jordan Miller struggled. Omier, again, he was okay. we missed a lot of shots around the basket we normally finish, and then didn't shoot well either. Missed a lot of jumpers that we normally make, and still won. And that, again, a lot of character in this team, and it showed up. Now that'll only take you so far. We got to play better against Indiana. Indiana has legitimate post players, and Drake, frankly, that kid torched us, but that was like career highs for him. That's not their game. I do think they kind of got out of their game on purpose, because their game is like a worse version of our game. So they knew what was going to happen if they kind of played up tempo and more flowing offense. So they took the air out of the ball, and it almost worked. With that said, Indiana's a different team. They want to play slow as well, so we're going to have to speed them up. They're a big team. Their shortest player 6'3", so and they've got legitimate post presence there. One of the best players in the country is their center, so going to be a tough cover for Norchad. He's got to stay out of foul trouble, which he did against Drake, which was huge. We did ride essentially a 6-man rotation, other than trying to buy a few minutes for Jordan Miller in the second half, and Anthony Walker had a disastrous sequence, which we were outscored 6-0 in, and almost cost us the game. So the strategic, like when we can get our backups and stuff like that. But I think simply just shooting better will go a long way towards avoiding a repeat. And hopefully now they got a game under their belt, they're a little bit more comfortable there. This is a very even matchup. It's a 4 versus 5, but just in terms of, both these teams have been kind of similar this year, just in terms of being able to beat good teams, also dropped a couple of, bad losses as well. So, both teams are capable of a lot of different performances, and for the Canes, it's about dictating the tempo. Indiana does not want to get up and down. They can, and they have won high scoring games, but that's definitely much more in the Canes' favor. So they got to speed the tempo up. Don't be afraid to shoot quick in the shot clock. I thought there was a lot of hesitation against Drake. They're a good defensive team, but I thought we hesitated a lot, and that did get us stuck. Late shot clock situations. I think, I think we finally just decided to put our head down and bully ball it, and that's why we got to the line so much, which ended up being the difference in the game. Doing that against a bigger Indiana team, it's going to be tough. We got to hit shots, and then once you start hitting shots, it helps to open up the whole game. So, that's a big thing. Zay's got to obviously play a lot better. Jordan Miller's got to play a lot better. Yep, and Mohammed, absolutely right. We gotta get them moving, and then that'll open the court up. So Indiana's kind of interesting, because in terms of their offense, they have 2 of their main kind of 5 players don't really shoot from outside, so they're going to compress on one end, and then when we got the ball, we've got to get them moving, as Mohammed said, and really keep them, because we should have a quickness advantage. So if we can get them moving, get them away from the basket too, that should open a lot up for us. But also, like, this is where Jordan Miller's got to shoot the ball well, because he can pull a big away. But if he's not making shots, they don't pay for that. Norchad's a little bit different. He'll probably be more near the basket, but we do have a quickness advantage and a shooting advantage. So we got to play into those things, and not into frankly, not into if this becomes another grinded out game in the half. Just if it becomes a game of half court execution, which is what the Drake game was, we're probably not going to win that. Indiana's very good at that. They have very good at running a deliberate offense through the post and playing inside out. We got to speed all that up. We gotta go for some steals, play aggressive defensively. I think we need to really trap a lot. Force them to speed up. We have to do that, because Indiana, if this game's like in the 60s, like the last game was, like that's Indiana's game, and they've won a lot of games that way. If we can get it into the 70s or even 80s, that's our game. So that is going to be the push and pull for Indiana's sake. They're going to run the ball through the post. Their big guy, Davis Smith, I believe is his name, something is a beast. Can score in the post, and he can step out and hit the mid-range. So, like, Norchad has got to play better defensively. He can't get bullied like he did it against Drake, or it's going to be a long day, because Indiana's post plays way better than Drake's is. Drake just saw a mismatch they wanted to attack, and they did. Indiana, that's how they naturally play. So if we don't get a lot better post defense, and some of that might be trapping, it might be aggressive help, swarming. We did get a couple of steals swarming Drake in the post, and I think we're going to have to come here with a similar game plan because, again, they don't have as much shooting as Drake did, so we should be able to help a little bit more. And again, just make them hopefully force them to shoot jumpers, and hopefully they're not going down for them. That's kind of the path forward. If they're able to score in the post repeatedly, it's going to be problematic for us. And then on our part, again, it's tempo. I think Bensley Joseph might have a big role to play today. He was very good down the stretch of that Drake game. He brings a lot of energy defensively, is able to push the ball offensively. Even more so, like Nigel's awesome. We love Nigel. But he's still kind of a little bit out of position as the point guard. At Kansas State, he played off the ball a lot more. He's doing a great job running the show, getting us into sets. But when Bensley comes in, he's able to push it a lot more. If this does become a pace game, that'll be big. And then, frankly, so we have 6 guys who you can trust on the court, right there. Like if those 6 are out, if 5 of those 6 are out there, you're fine. It's that 7th guy, and that's been Anthony Walker. It's been Casey at times this year. We got to survive those minutes because we didn't against Drake, and it almost lost us the game. We got to survive those minutes. Please don't shoot 3-pointers, Anthony. Please, just don't do it, man. He's good around the basket. He's good attacking the rim, and then I don't know why he feels the need to do that. But he can make an impact if he stays around the rim, hangs around the rim, and uses athleticism. And we need him to do that for his minutes on the court. And if Norchad gets into foul trouble, we are going to be in big trouble in this game. So I think he did a good job of staying out of foul trouble against Drake. You got to do that again. And then by some minutes with Anthony Walker for Jordan and Norchad. And other than that, it's gonna be Bensley Joseph and the 5 starters taking a bulk of the minutes, and that's what we want to see. So, if anyone else gets into foul trouble, we can kind of play the other 4, but Norchad, there's no replacement for, which we've known all year. I will say the positive coming out of the Drake game, despite probably has worst defensive game of the year, is he got a lot of rebounds. He eventually got going inside. I think he was a little bit, when you come back from an injury, it takes a while to kind of trust yourself again. I think he struggled with that, especially in the first half. Once he got it going a little bit, he felt like settle in. So now he's got a game under his belt. Hopefully he'll, be able to be a little bit more aggressive defensively as well, which again might lead to fouls, but we can't get bullied like that in the post again. The other thing is, if you're wondering why he shot a 3 to open the game, he's done it a couple of times this year. He was draining them in warmups. I saw him sit there for take 5 or 6 in a row and swish all of them from that spot. And I think he knew they weren't going to cover him there. And he was just like, first shot of the game, I'm going to drain this. And he obviously missed. I can't remember who it was against. I want to say Virginia Tech, but maybe I'm wrong. But he did that against one opponent this year where he just came out and hit a 3 to open the game up. And I think he was trying to replicate that. I mean, he was hitting them in warmups, and frankly, they're not going to cover him. So it's basically the same look he's getting in warmups. But that's why he opened the game with that 3-pointer. But then, I mean, we couldn't make anything. We went the first 10 minutes with 1 basket in it, and it was him tipping in a rebound after Wooga missed a dunk. That's how the game opened. So to survive all that, that's got to give us a lot of hope. We know we can play a lot better than that, and Indiana's a lot better team, though. If we'd done that against Indiana, there's no way we're winning that game. But they're a lot better team, but we can certainly elevate our game. I think it's going to be tight. If we can shoot well from 3 and really push the tempo, I think we have an excellent chance to win this game and move on to Kansas City. If it becomes a grinded out possession by possession game, Indiana is favored there. So this is a classic kind of like 2 styles of play game. And we have veteran guards. We got veteran guards. We got Nigel. We got Zay, and then Jordan Miller as well is not technically a guard. He's technically the power forward, but he's also a wing. And so, his projection at the next level is guard. So we've got all these experienced players, and that's where you can push the tempo and hopefully, if we can speed Indiana up, then that is. Shout out to my co-host from midweek, Maddie. If we can speed Indiana up, that is the goal. Hey, Matt, you want to jump in here? If you want to jump in here, let me know, and I'll get you the link. You can give me your thoughts here. But this is a classic kind of two different styles of play thing, and if we can. Oh, cool. Okay, we're gonna get Matt in here. We're gonna get some actual good analysis here. It is in your DMs, my friend. He had actually DM me this way. This is real professional here. Yeah, definitely get up in here. Let's get his take on the game too. So if you guys don't know Matt, he is kind of one of our top just Canes basketball analysts. He was, if you didn't see the midweek show, we broke down the Drake game. It kind of got almost everything wrong just because Drake completely changed the way they played for that game. But we did say towards the end, I don't see this team going down without putting up a fight and just losing to Drake. And boy, that part turned out to be true. So we'll get Matt in here in a minute to get his thoughts as well. I guess while we're doing that, then since we're gonna talk man with him, let's talk a little bit about the women's hoops team. And then when Matt pops in, we'll pivot back to the men. So the women, what a comeback yesterday, down 17th half. And I'll say, like, they didn't play well in the first half, missed a lot of layups. It was a nervy performance, but also just a lot of bad luck. Oklahoma State banked in threes at the buzzer twice in the first half, and also at the end of the shot clock once. That was 8 points right there just on that. And so we were down 17 at the half and just blitzed them. And coming out of the second half, took over the game. It was tied at 40 after we were down 37-20. And then from there, it was kind of an even game through the end. We pulled away a little bit, but they got back in it at the end. We missed some free throws. And then, once again, bad luck. We were up 4 with 8 seconds left. They banked in a corner three. And then, frankly, the NCAA should investigate what happened there, but they won't, which is, and I actually broke this down. Unfortunately, you can't screenshot, watch ESPN's app. They block it for copyright reasons. But the official, and I noted the timestamps at 28 seconds. It was a minute, an hour, something 28 or 18 or something like that. There was an 8 involved. He bounce passes the ball to our player and blows the whistle as the ball is bouncing. So we don't even have the ball yet, and he started to count. He then blew for 5 seconds at 22 seconds. We actually received the ball at 19. By 23, the ball was inbounded already because we had inbounded it by the time he blew the whistle. So he gave us 3 seconds to inbound the ball instead of 5. And that's what happened there. Fortunately, Oklahoma State went down and missed. The Lady Canes will take on Indiana. The time came out this morning at 8 p.m. tomorrow night. So, more Indiana action for our hoops program. With that said, I'm going to put my headset on because I actually have to hear what's coming out of Matt here. So I'm going to do that, and then we're going to bring Matt in here and get some actual analysis going. What's
How's it going, man? Pretty good. Yeah, no, I saw you going live, and I was like, oh, man, I'm ready to talk some hoops right now. I was like, I need to get in this. Obviously, I'm on the West Coast, so it's like a little earlier here. So I'm like, I can't think of anything better to start my morning than talk some.
Thanks, man. I appreciate having you on again. Yeah, I just like last minute was like, you know what? I'm sitting. It's freezing here. Like a cold front came through. The feels like it's 19 degrees. I'm just like sitting in this hotel room waiting for 8:40. And I'm just like, you know what? I'll go live and just like gas back a little bit, and then thankfully you showed up, so now we're gonna actually have some good content here.
No, don't say that. What are you talking about?
I was literally just like I was literally just like talking into the camera, so it's always good to bounce ideas off someone. So actually, why don't we start with how do you think the Drake game went in relation to what we talked about on Tuesday?
Yeah, well, there's a few things I wanted to talk about. That's why I wanted to get on here.
Yeah.
I got to give you props initially. I'll go over like the good first because, man, Wooga did a phenomenal job on Tucker DeFreeze. I was kind of surprised that they put him on them because I think he's had moments defensively. He's been a really good defender where he's kind of been a little bit too over aggressive. And then that was something like in the matchup that I was kind of worried about if he did match up with him, but he did a really good job. Was really impressed with him. Obviously, we can talk about the offensive struggles. I think that a lot of that was just Drake is a really good defensive team. I think I overlooked that a little bit. They did a really good job on Isaiah Wong. They shadowed him like the entire game with an extra defender. Obviously, Nigel Pack had a huge game for us. Was one of the main reasons why we won. Wooga too, man, on offense. I didn't even mention that. Had some nice clutch shots for us. And I just think it's a testament of how good this team is that we shoot like what was it, 30% from the field, and we're still able to win this game.
Yeah, it was something like that. And I mean, we only made one basket in like the first 10 minutes, and it was the tip in that Norchad had after Wooga missed a dunk. We just came out so nervous, nothing was going in there.
Yeah, and honestly, that could have even been offensive interference because I think it was still over the cylinder. But it was a long time. I mean, that was the longest drought we've had all season. I mean, I was worried because we've had like 3-4 minute scoring droughts, when trying to score in half court, when we're not forcing turnovers, getting out in transition. But yeah, no, I think it was a good experience because it really taught these guys, anyone can beat you, in this tournament. There's no bad teams. You have a 16 seed that beat a 1 seed. So good experience, close game. We have a lot of experience in those close games. I think that's what really helped us. And then ramping up the pressure at the end, I think that just totally caught them off guard. And it really got us going, and we were able to pull away. But
yeah, I actually called for them to pick up full court. I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, like towards the beginning of the second half, because one of the things that really impressed me with Drake is, they can play multiple styles. They came in there and like, we're going to take the air out of the ball and slow this game down, and not because we know our team. We're an offensive team. We want to get out. We want to score quick. We want everything to be fluid, and they ugged the game up. And they were running deep into the shot clock the whole game, and I actually think that impacted DeVries as well. They don't normally play that slow, and him just being catch and shoot, not like getting ISOs. Like they didn't really ISO him, which is a lot of his game. I thought that impacted him, but I think overall that plan worked for them. And that, because I think they knew if they played, we kind of talked about this a little bit on Tuesday, how they're kind of us, but not as good of a version of us. Like they kind of want to play open, and they play a lot of wings, and they play fluid offense, but they're less athletic than us. I think they saw that too, and like we can't play our style against their style because they're just a better version of that. But they're able to play multiple styles probably better than we are, and they were able to take the air out of the ball. And
they weren't even getting into their sets with until there was 10 or 12 seconds left on the shot clock, which that was something we didn't really see when I was watching games. I didn't really see that. And then they had Brody. Was really active, and they got the ball in his hands a lot.
I was okay. So, what is your take on what happened there? Those were career highs for him. He dominated Norchad, and I did not see that coming at all coming to the game. I know he's legitimate size and he's got these, but they never really run the offense through him. And this time they were like, we're going to attack that matchup and he played awesome and dominated us inside.
Yeah, I think that's something they probably game plan for because they weren't sure if Norchad was even going to play. And then maybe they were like, hey, let's just go at him. Let's see, how that injury is. But to be honest, he was getting really deep position, and when you're guarding the post that low, that's tough already. And then, I mean, like Mohammed just said too, he's not 100%. Yeah, we don't know what percent Norchad was. He still had some of that mobility, but I mean, you can tell, he's not 100%.
Yeah, and I also wonder if some of that's mental too. He's kind of holding back a little bit, but also, I mean, the other part of that is, I'm sure he was told you cannot get into foul trouble in this game. So, where he's normally maybe he's a little less physical. The other thing they did really good, we mentioned late in the shot clock, is they know we like to blitz to trap the pick and roll in the screen game. Mm-hmm. And so they would run those screens late, and Brody would just flash straight to the post position.
Yeah, so he would just slip the screen.
Yeah, right, exactly. and get good position that way because they knew Norchad was gonna stick with the dribbler at least for a beat, and that was enough for him to get that position. I felt coached an excellent game. And it almost got us. But yeah, we just showed we kind of that was the other thing we talked about on Tuesday. We're like, this team, I can't see them going out like that, and they just gutted the game out basically.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I mean that was a huge test. But I mean, like I always say, you just got to find a way to survive in advance, and that's what they did.
Yep. So now let's pivot, I guess, to tonight's game. Boy,
Yeah.
840 is like a million years away, huh?
Oh yeah.
All right. So we saw Drake have a lot of success in the post, and we know Indiana's got one of the best post players in the country. So how do you think the Canes are going to match up here? And then their whole team is big, but
no, it's interesting. Starting with Trace Jackson Davis, he's not like a 7-footer. I think he's around like 6'8" or 6'9", right? So closer to Norchad's height, but something that separates his game versus like, a big like Brody. Brody was just using that strength, to kind of create space and whatnot. But Trace Jackson Davis, more of like a finesse post player. He has a few moves that, he's just very quick. He's able to switch directions really quick. I think it could give Norchad some trouble. I think one of the big things, like you mentioned from the Drake game, like them telling him not to get in foul trouble, that's going to be a big thing, because this is going to be a different post player than Norchad has seen. And then just his ability to, he could kind of put the ball on the floor. He's a really good passer. That's something that's improved in his game, this season, last season. Still not, the best shooter. He doesn't really take any threes. But it's going to be, a tough matchup for Norchad. Hopefully he's feeling more closer to 100% because that would be big for us.
Do you think we'll double him? Do you think we'll like try to kind of swarm him? Because India doesn't, I believe 3 of their 5 starters can shoot from 3, but I think, we have the I think I'm doing this from memory from like preview, looking into this like 6 days ago. So I'm not entirely, you'll probably know better than I do. But
yeah, they have 2 guys that start. I think it's Trey Galloway and Miller Kopp is like their 3-point specialist. He can drill open shots. He's not really like a guy that goes hunting, for a shot. It's just kind of, he's a set shooter. Like, if he's open, and they'll get it to him. But I think we are going to see, I think it's going to be a lot of kind of similar to how we guarded. I don't know if you remember when we played North Carolina. This year and last year, just not giving Trace Jackson Davis any room, any space. So as soon as he dives, there's another body there. Try to frustrate him early. But the biggest thing is how we play the passing lanes, and then how do we recover on shooters? Because that's something from the Drake game. We didn't even talk about this too. I'm sure you did, but the defense was phenomenal. Their rotations, their recovery, and that's something that I don't remember if you remember when we talked last time. That's what separated this team last year. That's how we made the run to the Elite Eight. Was we turned the defense up, and had the best defensive efficiency going into the Elite Eight in the tournament last season. So, is that something that we can keep up? And forcing turnovers too. If we win that turnover margin, they don't really force a lot of turnovers. Those are the main things that I'm really looking at. And if we can knock down open threes, because they're not the best perimeter defense team, they do struggle against good backcourts. And we have some of the best guards in the country. So
yeah, I looked at their 2 games against Iowa, who's another, I would say, slanted towards offense versus defense team. One game Iowa just blew them off the court. The other one, was tight, but it was still played, I want to say in the 80s or 90s. Like, these were high scoring games. And I think, that's where we want to push the game to, and they want to play probably down the 60s. So I think there's just a huge style contrast here as well. Just they're going to want to be deliberate, work it through the post, play slow, and we're going to want to push the tempo, get fluid offense going, and play a high scoring game. The other thing, so you mentioned North Carolina and how we handled Baycott. Is this do you think this is like a similar challenge? How would you say their games are the same or different?
I think that Trace Jackson Davis is the better post player. I think he can do more on offense. He's just more versatile, better scorer. He's able to create for himself better. I think Baycott relies more on teammates creating for him. I think that's why North Carolina struggled a lot this season, because they didn't have as much of that. But Trace Jackson Davis is, kind of a different animal. It's going to be a tough matchup. But I mean, I fully expect Trace Jackson Davis to get his, but it's just, can we force turnovers? Can we make them uncomfortable? That's really how we're going to win it. Because I mean, if we can force turnovers, that gets us out in transition. They're not the best team in guarding transition. That's going to help us a lot.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I think getting steals, tips, because that'll also get in their head. Like when they want to run the ball through the post and grind the game down and make it a half court execution game, and we want to speed it up and turnovers and steals are a great way to do that. Like you said, get out in transition, but also then make them hesitate. Passing it out of the post, rotating the ball after if we're doubling, all of that. If you start tipping balls and stealing them, everything, it gets in their head, right? They're afraid to throw those passes, and they're hesitating then, and it can really gum the offense up.
Yeah, and also too for Indiana, I mean, sometimes there's times where their offense is kind of, there's not a lot of spacing, because I mean, Trace Jackson Davis, we talked about it, he's not really a shooter. And then you have Race Thompson, who he's a great glue guy. He does all the small things, good defender and whatnot, but he can't really shoot as well either. I know I think in their first matchup, he had like 2 or 3 threes, but that's not really the norm. So there are times where they have issues with spacing. So, I mean, that would be a huge benefit to us, because that's just another way to force turnovers. And you can put more pressure, on Trace Jackson Davis, if you don't have to worry about another shooter.
Yeah, and I think, man, the one thing that's really scaring me about this match, if Norchak gets into foul trouble, we're just I thought just to be blunt, Anthony Walker did not have a good game against Drake. He got lost multiple times, and we tried to buy a few minutes for Jordan Miller, and again, Jordan Miller, Zay Wong didn't play well.
No, not at all.
But there's different levels to this, right? And we tried to buy 3 minutes for Jordan Miller in the second half and almost lost the game because of it. He lost his man defensively twice, gave up 3 open threes, but they missed one of them, and then took a 3 for some reason, which he's just obsessed with doing. And we can't have that, especially if Norchak gets into foul trouble. He's got to play extended minutes. He's got to be one of the more frustrating players that I remember covering, because he's so good around the basket, and when he uses his athleticism, he can actually be a weapon. And for some reason, he wants to shoot threes and float around. I'm like, just stick to your guy on defense, use your athleticism to play defense, and then just be opportunistic around the basket, and he'll be fine. And I think, we got to make sure that he stays within his game too, because that, it can, a few bad minutes here or there decides these games, and we're pretty much going to play a 6-man rotation. Let's be real here, and then try to buy some minutes with Walker as the 7th guy. So, those minutes, whenever he's on the court, or, if we go to Casey or whatever, which if Norchak gets into foul trouble, we'll probably have to use Casey as well. But the minutes either of those two are on the court, those are key that we don't lose ground. Because there's a huge drop off we have basically 6 players that were fine if 5 of them are on the court. And then 2 other guys, Walker more so than Case, they get minutes out of necessity. When one of those 2, there's like a big step down. It's just, trying to survive those minutes.
Yeah, and it's on both sides of the floor too. I mean, I understand, Casey being a true freshman, kind of the worry of playing him in a game like this. But to me, I'm almost at the point where, maybe give him a little bit more of Anthony Walker's minutes, just because of, I think he understands defensive rotations a little bit better. But yeah, no, I agree with you on the Anthony Walker front.
And I mean, God bless him. Like, he lined up that 3, and I'm like, I yelled no as the ball came to him, because he always does it. If someone hits a 3 in his face, he wants to shoot one right back at him. And God, I was like, maybe it'll go in this time.
It's so interesting to me, because I feel like, I don't want to totally get on Anthony Walker here, but I feel like it's almost like whenever he gets the ball in his hands, he's just thinking about it too much. Like, he's thinking of like, oh, I'm going to do this move, instead of just playing and reacting. Because you can't do that. You can't have determined like what you're going to do, because you don't know what the defense is going to do. But that was the biggest thing. And I know he works a lot off the court on improving his game, but I mean, some people, once you hit the games,
And,
it's a
and
different
that's
animal.
that's why he's so frustrating, because there's like no reason he shouldn't be good.
Yeah, no, he
That's
has
why
the
this
athletic
is
ability.
and he shows it sometimes. He'll like when he gets the ball like by the around the rim, he finishes well in traffic. He actually makes his free throws for the most part. Like he could be a solid like 15-minute a game guy off the bench if he wouldn't, have the mental lapses is probably the best way to put it. Where he just takes a bad shot or falls asleep on defense quite a bit. It's just, those lapses kill you. And that's what limits his core minutes. I agree with you. I think it depends on, the situation today, but I think especially if Norchad's in foul trouble, you got to go to Casey because his post defense is just way better. And if someone's got to guard the post, you'd rather have it be him than Anthony Walker.
Who would you trust more on Trace Jackson Davis?
Yeah, no,
like AJ Casey or Anthony Walker.
It's got to be Casey, right? At this point,
yeah.
Just because but Anthony Walker's post defense just is not. He doesn't really get he doesn't battle for position well. He almost gives them space and tries to block it and uses athleticism. And you got to get physical in this matchup. Which Casey sticks his head in there. He makes like 3 fouls in 5 minutes, but he sticks his head in there. And that you know what? That's fine for him. It's unfortunate we weren't able to, develop Favor a little bit more because, he's the only like legitimate big on the roster really because Norchad's so undersized. If we were able to kind of get some minutes for him, we could actually bring a big off the bench that's big. But, we're kind of being forced to put power forwards in at center.
I mean, one of the guys that I've been surprised, not trying to make this more about like, guys that should play, but, I was kind of interested. I thought Chris Watson was going to get more run as the season progressed a little bit, just because I like the versatility he had, that's 6'7" wing, he can shoot, he can create his own shot. But I mean, maybe that's just, maybe he's a year away, but yeah, I mean,
I think it's also
next year.
I think if he was a big, he would have played like just in terms of like, I think he's actually out of the 3 freshmen, he's probably played the least number of minutes. He's the best player though. It's just that he's at the same position as all of our good players. Yeah. And so, how many minutes are you taking away from Wooger, Jordan Miller to get him on the court? Your answer is 0. So I think that's why he's not playing. But every time he's gotten minutes here and there and he's flashed ability. It's just there's very few situations where you're like, yeah, I'd rather have him out there than Wong or something like that because that's the choice that we have to make. Yeah. Whereas, if he was, if he could take some of Norchad's minutes somehow, then I think he would have played probably quite a bit. And I think, next year we're going to be losing quite a few players. So yeah, his time is coming.
Yeah. Let me ask you though, how confident are you going into this game?
I'm pretty confident. Like I honestly, watching that game when there was about 5 or 6 minutes left and we were down 8, whatever time it was around that. It felt like the Marquette game to me again. That we lost. I mean, this is going back now, but just like because
it's like 2012, 2013 season.
Because it was like I watched this team play the whole year, and like losing happens, and in this tournament you can lose to anyone, which has been proven time and again, right? So that's always a possibility. But I was like, this team is not recognizable to the team I watched play the entire year. Like, what are we doing? Like, this is not. And that was what that Marquette game felt like. Like, we were obviously one of, if not the best team in the country that year, and just laid an egg. And there was all sorts of stuff going on behind the scenes
there was.
That came out later and kind of explained it. But if I was like, this is that all over again. We just came out here and completely just didn't play our game at all. And, losing like that would have been so disappointing. Just like, God, we didn't even put like anything close to our best foot forward. Like compare that to like the Angel Rodriguez team that like lost to Villanova, and Villanova when I won the championship. Like there's no universe we were going to win that game in. Which you realize 10 minutes in, like, oh, this team is better than us, and we fought them. We made a couple of runs. We tried to hang around. But it was like, no, we played as well as we could, and they were that much better than us, and they proved it by just winning the rest of the games too. So I mean, there's times when you get eliminated where it's, you just tip your cap, and there's other times you're like, oh God, that was a missed opportunity. and this felt like it was going that way against Drake. Like, okay, like,
Yeah.
first of all, we're playing this bad and we're in this game. If we'd played well, would we have just run them off the court? Like, it was so frustrating. But then to win that, now you asked me about how I'm feeling today. I mean, if we can play like that and win a game, you kind of feel, maybe there's a little bit of magic in this team. Just and not to make it supernatural. I think the magic is there's so many weapons and so many guys that can win you games. It was Nigel and Wooga on Friday. Maybe today it's Jordan Miller and Zay and Norchad that come to the front, right? We just have so many guys that can make contributions. And so that's why I'm generally confident. I also think matchup-wise, this one might be a little bit better of a matchup for us. We tend to do better against slow teams. And that's actually Coach L was on Lebitard's show like the Monday after we blew that FSU game. And he flatly said we match up better against teams that are slower. And that is kind of Indiana. So I feel good about the matchup. I'm hoping whatever was in our system is out of our system now. And just even like shots that we always make, like that Zay inbounds pass baseline jumper that he makes every single time. He missed it. I'm like, how did you miss that? That's your shot. And Jordan Miller was missing his little fadeaway, and I'm just like, these guys make that shot 100 out of 100, and it's not going in. And so I feel like if we can get that out of our system, obviously it's cliche, but the ball going in makes everything look good. And if we can just make the shots we expect to make, I'm feeling pretty good. It's feeling good today.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because their guards are bigger, right? But their big men are, roughly the same size as ours. Obviously I'm calling Jordan Miller a big man because he has to guard, a lot of guys that, more play in the post because of how we play. But it's interesting to me because, they have a freshman point guard, I think that the other guard is a sophomore as well. They have struggled with turnovers. In some games, especially Hood Schifano, I think his name is. He's a great player, but what I saw, in our game against Drake with the pressure that we were, putting even in the half court, I think that Indiana does struggle with it. I think that our offense looks day and night better this game because there's going to be a lot more driving lanes. Indiana does struggle against teams with good backcourts. I know Northwestern, beat them both times and had really their backcourt, Bowie and I think it was Adis. I can't remember his last name. Was watching the UCLA game, both solid players, but they had really good games. I think they combined for 45 and 40 when they played them and got wins both times. So, I think it's a good matchup for us. Obviously you just never know what can happen in March, but I really like this matchup that we have.
Yeah, and to me the other kind of big thing, so I think what is Zay? Zay's what, 6'3",
6'3",
yeah,
like 6'3".
Wigga's 6'5". So those are negligible differences there. So yeah, I'm not worried about this.
And I think it's more like, obviously Nigel Pack's 6 feet. I imagine that they probably put him on one of the shooters, probably Miller Kopp or something. And I think that, obviously he's undersized. He does struggle defensively, like with ball pressure and whatnot. But I think he does do a good job of staying in position. Like he's not going to really lose his guy. Obviously, we have times on our defense where, switches happen and whatnot. But for the most part, when you're looking like in the half court, I think he'll do a serviceable job covering that. But yeah, I'm not as concerned about that side. I'm more concerned about what's Trace Jackson Davis going to do.
Yeah, and just I think as an extension of that, as we like you said, we switch quite a bit, and I think we'll do so even more in this game because they don't really have a lot of, I would say, perimeter threat in terms of like generating offense. It's going to come inside out, and so that's
more catch and shoot than like create on your own.
So switching makes a little bit more sense in that sense. But the big concern for me is the rebounding. Make sure we're team rebounding defensively because we're going to do a lot. I feel like we're going to be scrambling a little bit on purpose, right? We like to
Scramble defense.
That's how we play. And they have, you mentioned his name earlier. I'm spacing all the names. My brain's turned off, but they're glue guy.
Grace Thompson. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to make sure you get a body on him because as you're scrambling, he's going to get to the ball, get to the rebound, get those putbacks and all that. So that's a big key for me too, is just, team rebounding. Everyone's got to hit the boards. And to your point, we did that last year in the NCAA tournament, and we did that against Drake too. We really did a good job swarming, and our defense has struggled on the year, but it's done so more so, it's physical limitations. Like we're small, and and like you mentioned, Nigel, he's bad defensively, just physically, just not, if you have a quick point guard that's 6'2", that's really tough for a 6'6" guy to handle there. And so, but positionally we're generally solid, and at least against Drake, we were able to raise our level kind of similar to what we did last year. So I'm feeling pretty, I'm a little worried about how good I'm feeling about this game. So maybe I've been in Albany too long and it's like my brain is frozen. I don't know. I feel like if we can play our game, like we're gonna win this one.
Yeah, I was definitely more anxious and nervous going into the Drake game. Maybe a lot of that was due to like I don't want to be a one and done, like just get to the tournament and lose in the first round. And also the 5-12 upsets. You know how like 32 out of 37 tournaments, 12 seed is beaten a 5. Yeah, none this year. It's more the 13-4, I guess. But that was what was really concerning me. And obviously Indiana is a good team, and this isn't like out of disrespect. I just feel better about this matchup.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is. I guess the way we lose this game is we get dominated on the boards. They're able to grind the game down where we're getting late into shot clocks, and they're able to kind of clamp us defensively, and Jackson Davis just goes off on us. Like I think that's how we lose this game. But I agree with you. Usually the team with the better guards can dictate the pace and dictate the style of the game, and if I don't know that we can win playing the way Indiana wants to play, which is grind it out, although we did against Drake. But I don't think Indiana can get up and down with us. Like I don't think they can play that kind of game with us. And so to me, if we can force the tempo, I think we got a great shot here.
I think it's going to be interesting too, is, does Coach L look to, make the pace like go a little quicker? Because usually like outside of half, like second half, he'll kind of press a little bit or whatever. Does he try to do that like right out the gate, or not like immediately, but like after a few possessions, after a bucket, hey, pick up full court a little bit, try to see if we can get a turnover, get more transition points. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and I think one of the things the press also does is it kind of relaxes you because you don't have time to think. You're just reacting. And if you can get a couple of tips and steals and kind of get a rhythm going, it does help you settle down a little bit, take some of the nerves out of the game, because you're just focused on doing the press is so reactive, and you're kind of just focused on doing that, and you're not overthinking things. Be an interesting thing to see if you. I don't think we'll come out doing that, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think one of the things, whether he wanted to or not against Drake, you got to make a basket to press after the main basket. So we kind of didn't give him the opportunity to come out and do that against Drake, since we didn't make a basket for the first 10 minutes. So
yeah, I mean, when you're shooting 30%, I mean,
the 30% was an upgrade. I mean, I'm looking at because they have the percentages in there, and it was just dropping. And then we finally got it was 0, and then we got the tip in, and it went to 7. And then it dropped down again. Then when Nigel hit those 2 shots, that's when we got into the 20s.
That's why I don't know if you can tell. My voice is kind of gone. If it was that first half, I was just, oh my god.
Oh, I felt bad for the people sitting around me. I'm the most annoying. Just like you, we overanalyze this stuff, and so I'm just yelling out all the players' nicknames, we'll go shoot the ball or what. And it's gotta just be so annoying to sit around me at one of these games. But anything to do at Albany? No, I've seen it. There's nothing else here. I've been here way too long, by the way. So no, at this point, no.
How long have you been there?
So I came in Thursday because they do the bracket, comes out. I was talking about this at the start of the show. This is the least fan friendly thing to travel to. because you don't know the game times. So I knew we were on Friday, but it conceivably could have been at noon, right? So I was like, all right, I got to fly in Thursday. Because what if it's at noon? You get a flight delay, like I'm going to miss the game after all. So, and then obviously you don't know if you're going to win or not. And then you'd have to be here through Sunday if you win. So I come in Thursday, and then of course, like after I bought plane tickets and all that, it's like, oh, the game's not till night. I could have flown in Friday for sure. And then originally, and this was probably stupid to begin with, because again, they don't set the game times until after the first sets of games. Yeah. So I didn't know when our Sunday game was going to be. So originally I was like, I changed my flight this morning because I
saw that on Twitter.
Yeah. And because I was like, all right, as long as it's not like a night game, I'll get back to the hotel. Look, I'm going to be a wreck tonight. And so I'm like, that'll at least give me time to calm down so I can maybe get some sleep. Because like, there's no way, like, it's going to take a few hours after the game, whether we win or lose, to like kind of come down off of it. And then 8:40, I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. So I basically, the reason it feels like it's dragging is I've been sitting around for all this time, and now like sitting around all day today. There's not that much. There's like the Capitals here, like that area is okay. There's not much to do here. So it's less than 100,000 people live in this town. It's just, I mean, it is what it is. This is where they put us. So, but I've been here way too long.
Yeah. No, I got you.
Let's see. Would press make any else problems, turnovers, cause problems, get into foul trouble, put IU at the line. Yeah, that's a fair point. If we're over aggressive, if we decide to press and we're over aggressive and get into foul trouble and start turning into a free throw game, then
yeah. The one thing I was gonna say too is, I mean, Indiana's not. I mean, obviously you don't want to foul, short lineup, whatnot. But they aren't the best free throw shooting team too, so that's something to kind of take into account as well.
Yeah, and we obviously shot free throws really well and it won us the game, essentially. That's how we made up for all the other stuff, although there were some, I would say, big misses. Bensley could have iced the game and had that one. I mean, again, it's hard to, when it like goes halfway in and spins out, it's just like, But that one, I know Zay missed the front end of a 1-and-1 when he could have put us in front. Like, we had opportunities before Drake built that lead out to 8 points. We had opportunities to kind of build a little bit of a foothold, and we just kept making mistakes and couldn't do it, and then they would come back at it. So, that type of stuff, capitalizing on opportunities, is big. I would just token press, not ball denial. I mean, that's definitely, we can do a little bit of that too. And also, like, let's be real, like we play a short rotation. You're not going to do 40 minutes of full court press. We'll be dead at halftime. Like, you can't play that way. We do need to turn it off at times. You can't just do that for the whole game.
Yeah. I think too, one of the other things that I forgot to mention too is, like, look for the ball pressure and for them to really put a lot of stress on them trying to get that entry pass to Trace Jackson Davis. Cause I mean, that's an opportunity for a steal in itself. But that's something I'm kind of looking at too, is how do they make it more difficult to just get him the ball, for him to get the ball. Yeah.
And I guess another kind of, I mean, this does feel like a good matchup for us. This feels like the teams that we play well again. They almost feel like, a worse version of Duke, who I know we lost to twice. One of them was without Norchad, and it was really close. The other one was in Duke, and frankly, there was some abhorrent officiating in the end of that game.
Yeah.
And then when we played them at home, we boat raced them. So, I mean, I feel it does feel a little bit like,
I think it's similar in that, like, the guard play is kind of questionable. You don't know what's going to show up. I know, I mean, they do have some better shooting, though, I would say, since, I mean, they do play some of those specialists. But I think Duke can guard the perimeter a little better than Indiana as well.
Yeah, but, I mean, again, I think
I'd take Indiana over Duke again, to be honest.
Well,
but Duke's sitting on the couches now.
Yeah,
so
it's left to us and Pitt to represent this conference, maybe together in Kansas City in a couple of days. So.
Yeah, who would have thought this would how it would be?
I mean, I will say,
for others, not for us.
If you watched the team, like, I think Virginia was a surprise, but frankly, they melted down, right? Other than that, like if you watched who were the 3 best teams in the ACC this year, it was Miami, Pitt, and Virginia. Like if you actually watched the whole season.
I mean, like going into the season. Like
going into the season, sure. Yeah,
the
UNC
hype on
was now
Duke.
number 1 in the country completely. Yeah. Right, but I mean, just like if you like, it wasn't that. It's not that surprising that these are the 2 last teams in the tournament if you actually watched them play all year. I know everyone wanted to pretend like the first half of Duke's season didn't happen, and their season started after they lost to Virginia. But that's not the way basketball works. And it's not surprising that Pitt and us are still playing. All right, let's kind of bring this to a little bit of a close here. Okay, so on all right, so let's do one housekeeping thing. So I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Win or lose, we'll hook up midweek and debrief this and hopefully preview Houston. All right, so look out for that on the network. Matt and I will get together and hopefully we're talking about a great win here and talking about the upcoming game against Houston. Either way, or we'll do a eulogy, one or the other. But I'm feeling pretty good that it'll be the former. All right. Well, with that, let's pivot to why don't you throw me a prediction here?
I think you're right. I think the offense gets going today. I think it's more of a high scoring game. I'm gonna go 79-72 Miami.
All right, I like it. And I think if a game gets into especially the high 70s, that's our game.
And I think it's close. It's just like, kind of free throws at the end, kind of make it look like, 7-point game. But yeah, I mean, Indiana's still, a good team. It's just, I like the matchup for us,
Yeah, I think if we can, I think it'll be probably a similar margin, but I actually think it won't expand out to that. I think it'll contract to that in the last few minutes.
Okay.
I think we're going to build a little working lead and just maintain it. I think this will be a lot less stressful than the Drake game, but
I love it.
But all right, I'm at a wood desk, so we can go ahead and knock on this before I jinx the whole athletic program or something.
My desk is actually a U-shaped Miami desk. I'll have to send you a picture.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. All right, man. Well, thanks for hopping on the last minute and definitely saving me here a little bit. I was just gonna talking to the camera for I don't know how long, so this definitely worked out a lot better.
Oh no, I popped open Twitter. I was like, oh, I'm joining this. I was like, if he'll have me, I'm coming in here.
Oh, for sure. Anytime you want to come on talk hoops, let me know. For those listening at home, we got the Six Rings Kane show tomorrow night at 8:30. We'll probably talk about football because that's what we do on that show. Although I won't be paying attention because the women's basketball game will be going. But at that time, that's at 8 tomorrow. Stay tuned because Matt and I will be coming at you in the middle of the week to hopefully be previewing the Canes against Houston. With that said, thanks for joining and go Canes.
Yeah.
The Six Ring Kane Show. Yeah. The Six Ring Kane Show. Yeah. The Six Rings Kane Show.